Hi, today's talk is about how to crush the time vampires. When you come to work, you're bombarded with emails, phone calls, all of that stuff. And it comes to 4 o'clock in the workday and you realize you haven't accomplished any of the high priority tasks that you had set up for that day. And basically you've been running around like with a chicken, like with its head cut off, just trying to handle every little call, email, text message that you get from clients. They're setting the agenda for your day, not you. What I've done is set up a system to avoid all of the distractions and interruptions that you're going to have every single day. And it begins by having your client sign a document called the Rules of Communication. The Rules of Communication is about a 7-page document that has the very specific rules for client interaction and engagement with me. So rule number 1, this is a document, by the way, which I have all clients sign from day 1. So when they come to me, I send this to them, I have them review it, I sign it, they sign it, we go through the items and make sure that they understand it and they're clear, and then it becomes part of their file. So rule number 1 is I don't take unscheduled phone calls. So if a client calls, they expect to speak with me, they can get an update on the status of their case very simply by asking to speak with our client directions person or with our paralegal, but they cannot get instant access to me. That's very important. If they want to speak with me, rule number 1 is they have to schedule a planned appointment. So they have to actually send me an email that specifies the purpose of the phone call, what they want to discuss, and we set up a time between 4 and 6 p.m. So we block out a 2-hour period where I'm available for 15, 30-minute phone calls whenever they want. That's rule number 1. If you continue to take uninterrupted phone calls throughout the course of your day, you'll get nothing done. Rule number 2 is don't come to my office without an appointment. So you can't just show up here and expect that you're going to be able to meet with me. If you have questions, again, you can speak with my paralegal, the client relations director, but don't expect to come to my office and ever meet with me. It's got to be planned in advance. Rule number 3 is I don't respond to email. So if you email me and you want an update on the status of the case, don't have any expectation that I'm going to respond. Send the email to my paralegal or the client relations director and ask them about the status of your case. What happens if you have clients? So what we do is before the case begins, we sit down, we go over this document in its entirety, and the last page is actually got a signature line where I ask them to review it and sign and initial every single page. They take a copy, I take a copy as well. It becomes part of their record. The rules of communication have specific rules as to what happens if they violate the rules. So for example, if they call me, if they text me, I can't stand texts from clients, but let's say that they text me repeatedly. What I do initially is I send them a very friendly, nice reminder. Remember the rules of communication, here they are, please comply. If there's a second or third violation of the rules, that's where it gets serious. And we have a sit-down meeting and I say, look, this is not going to continue this way. If you continue to violate the rules of communication, we have a problem here and we may need to end our relationship. Now that's only happened one time that I've actually had that sit down with a client because most of them will appreciate that time is limited and that time is precious. And when I'm working on an upcoming trial or a deposition, I need to be 100% laser beam focused on that trial or deposition, and I can't have the constant flow of interruptions and distractions from email and phone calls. So once you explain everything in that setting, they tend to understand. It's sort of like a heart surgeon. If you're doing a heart operation, you wouldn't want to be bombarded by phone calls or emails or texts, right? So you'd want to be 100% focused on the operation that you're doing, and there's no reason that as lawyers we shouldn't have the same rules. Now the other thing that I have is what's called a strategic email autoresponder, and what that is if you send an email, you'll get a reminder automatically with the email. Here are the rules of communication, and here are the rules that I follow for client communication, for communication with referring attorneys, and also for sales calls. So every single person who might be calling our office is going to get that reminder, and attached to the email will be the specific rules of communication. So that reinforces the rules of communication that we have every single time. The best thing that this will do for you is it's going to free up your day. And then all of a sudden you're going to see that you have scheduled appointments between 4 and 5:30 p.m. or 6 p.m. every day just for phone calls and responding to addresses. And the agenda for that phone call is going to be set in advance so you know what the client is going to be asking about. And the beauty of this system is during working hours, let's say between 8:30 and 4 p.m., your time is going to be totally free to work on the top goals, the top work that you need to accomplish to get your cases to trial. Those are my tips for crushing the time vampire.